So I'm here in Playa Hermosa, my friend Matt's budding farm and property where we planted out this Syntropic food forest back in June. Now it's at the end of October, so we're about 4.5 months only, and we have a lot of amazing growth, and we're here now fertilizing the system and mulching, getting rid of the weeds and the grass that's encroaching. We never got enough mulch down originally that I would have liked to, but I want to give you guys a quick tour of this amazing Syntropic food forest that's sprouting up here. I'm going to start down below where we've cleaned the rows, and then I'll finish up top where there's a finished mulch row. So we put in these steps to access the lower lines more easily, safely. There's a double row of vetiver here, which will act as a chop and drop and stabilizes the hillside, of course. There's some porterweed, a bunch of porterweed here for pollination. You can see the butterflies love it. A little butterfly. There's some lemongrass here on the edge of this one. And I'll just run through this row real quick. So this is our first fruit tree row with support species and bananas. We did a terracing on all of these rows on contour with the hillside. Swales aren't really necessary in this heavy tropical rains we get. So this first tree is a fruit tree, a lanzone, and we have some flowers, another porterweed, a pink one this time. This will be our main support species and chop and drop in the future. This is an ice cream bean that'll turn into a big tree. This one's a little slow. It was small when we planted it. Here's the first banana. This is cranberry hibiscus. Nice, tastes like cranberries, good in salads. It's another ice cream bean. There's ice cream beans every 4 meters. There's flowers. This is a sweet starfruit that's looking a little sad. It's another nitrogen fixing support species that's gone to seed. Crotalaria, or sun hemp, we call it. Another ice cream bean. Real rockstar banana. It's pumping. Crotalaria, ice cream bean, pigeon peas, another nitrogen fixer. These are blowing up. They're about ready for their first pruning. This is a rose apple. And see, we've heavily weeded this. There was a lot of grass and weeds in the row. And now that we've weeded it and we put more compost down, what we did here is when we initially planted this, we put all this down, but now it's ready for a second feeding. This is a really amazing compost my friend Jesus makes. Organic compost. It's got all kinds of good stuff in here. Chicken manure, cow manure, rice hulls, crushed eggshells, all kinds of stuff. And then we put rock dust. There's 3 kinds of rock powders for minerals. And another mix that's rich in potassium and phosphorus, which is made of like burnt bones that are crushed, eggshells, and different things that my farmer friend makes. Another ice cream bean, pigeon pea, banana. There's a lot of cranberry hibiscus. This is a blue flower I can't remember the name of. Acerola cherry that hasn't grown much. It's a little stunted, I don't know why. Ice cream bean, pigeon peas, banana, crotalaria, sun hemp, more crotalaria, more pigeon pea. These are all support species, nitrogen fixing chop and drops that will add mulch into the system. And in the future, we won't have to import any mulch from off-site. This is a guava. And there's another porterweed. We just planted a new one on the edge. We're also going to be tomorrow cleaning up this edge above the fruit trees and cleaning all this grass and pushing the sweet potatoes back and planting lines of vetiver that we should have done originally. I just didn't have enough vetiver. And so we're going to put lines of vetiver grass all along the front of these fruit tree rows that'll act as a chop and drop once they grow up into bushes. We'll chop the grass back 3 times a year, mulch the fruit trees rows, and so it's like literally right in place, chop and drop. All these all the pigeon peas will be chopped back 3 times a year. The crotalaria can be chopped back. Bananas will be chopped back and mulched. You don't need all the hee-haws you'll take, and then when you harvest a banana, chop it, mulch it. These will be the main mulch material in these rows, though. The ice cream beans, it will go up into trees, let them get about 10 feet tall in the first year, and then you can cut them back 3 times a year. So we've introduced sweet potatoes in between all the rows. This one hasn't filled in yet fully, so we're going to weed this area and take plugs and cuttings from the rest of these sweet potatoes and plug it into the areas that are a little more sparse. But I'll show you up here, there's an area that is really abundant. So here's a support row in between. This is our first fruit tree row. Our other fruit tree row is there. There's about 10 meters in between. And at about 5 meters, we have this support line where, you know, that has chop and drop species. There's some things that didn't take, like this was guachipaline cuttings. They didn't take, which is a nitrogen fixing tree. So we're gonna fill in some of these missing gaps with some plants. But there's a few fruit trees in this row, but it's mostly support species. There's a mulberry here, banana, of course the porterweed flowers, pigeon pea, porterweed, cranberry hibiscus. It's another local flower I can't remember the name of. It produces a lot of biomass too. We're gonna chop that back. Papaya, not doing hot, doesn't look that great. Another banana, pigeon pea, porterweed. And so there's a little bit of missing stuff here. So there's something here that maybe had died. So we're gonna plug some more Mexican sunflower and some port species in there. This area between this row looks a lot better with the sweet potato. It's a little thicker, and it's even thicker up here. But you can always pull back your your sweet potato slips, vines, and then make a bunch of slips to replant and then plug in the bare areas that I showed you below. So this right here will be 15 cuttings or slips, we call them, that can be plugged in and filled in. So this row has already been weeded again as well too. See here, the sweet potato is a lot thicker. Up there it's almost solid. So here is an ice cream bean. Here's our first fruit tree, an IBU. Look how big these pigeon peas are. They're amazing. So these are all ready to be chopped back. We're gonna leave some of the big ones that aren't shading out the fruit tree, it's shading out this IBU already. So we're gonna chop these two back drastically, but the ones that aren't, we're gonna leave and let grow big so they can produce some flowers and pigeon peas to eat. See, here's a loquat tree that's getting a little shaded out by this pigeon pea. It's time to cut it back. So all this stuff will be dropped in place and mulched. But the system looks amazing for less than 5 months of growth. This is chaya. It's a ice cream bean. Here's chaya. So here's another support line that's only Mexican sunflower. Some of them didn't take, but most of them did. And there's sweet potato here in between. So this is another support line here. This is the fruit tree line. See, here's a guanabana that's starting to get shaded out, or it's not totally shaded out, but it's getting encroached upon by this pigeon pea on either side. And this is another nitrogen fixing support species called flamengia that's starting to go to flower. And the bees love these flowers, so the ants are help pollinated as well. But that's a chop and drop. We can cut it back and mulch the system with it. What we mean by chop and drop is we literally chop and drop it in place, and it produces mulch. The nitrogen in the plant's leaves and will break down and feed the soil and create soil. See, these are starting to go to seed. We're going to start to collect some of these seeds before we chop them. This is the flamengia. It's got these little black seeds in it. It only has a 50% or less germination rate, so you always want to plug in like 5 to 10 seeds in each pot that you planted in or cell. So here's a jackfruit. It's got, it's taller than me. It's probably half this size when we planted it 4.5 months ago. And this is more flamengia. There's an ice cream bean, a new one we replaced, one that had died. This is more flamengia. This is lantana flower. Banana, flamengia. It's a champajack, I'm sorry. Another small ice cream bean, banana, and then see here we did the vetiver. There's a vetiver line here. We're going to do the same in all the fruit tree lines. And then here's more support species lines. This is a whole line of Mexican sunflower. There's some more support species, mulberry. And here, this is really getting thick and nice in here with the sweet potatoes. Jose here is weeding into the row, getting rid of all the grass and the weeds so that the sweet potato can fill in and take over and act as a ground cover so that we don't have to weed in here anymore. But it's doing well. It's already starting to produce some sweet potatoes. We harvested a few already. But sweet potato is an amazing ground cover. You can eat these leaves. You can eat the tips like young ones raw, or you can saute the larger leaves. They're really nutritious and a really good perennial green to eat. So here's chaya, porterweed, banana, and this is banana and all the same stuff. There's actually, this is a Pacific spinach, we call it. It's a type of hibiscus. This is a perennial hibiscus. All hibiscus are edible. Some are more tastier than others. And then, yeah, just all the support lines, the same species, similar species. And now you can see what the finished product will look like when we're doing this new mulch. So we weeded this fruit tree line heavily, and Byron's now putting down this mulch. This mulch is just from the local sawmill. It's different types of hardwoods that were freshly, what they do is when they plane their boards, this is all the shavings from the planer. They plane, millions of board feet of lumber every year, and this is just the shavings of different hardwood mulch. So now that we're fully weeded, we're going to put this mulch down, and there won't be any necessary outside inputs in the future because the system's starting to mature, and we're going to start cutting back these pigeon peas, the ice cream beans, and all the vetiver lines like this that will be feeding the system and mulching and be the major mulch in the future. So, but I mean, for a 4.5-month-old system, everything is really healthy. We've already started to pull some sweet potato slips, and I'm making new slips that we're going to plug in the areas that are a little more barren. And so this area, we put in some like individual bananas, fruit trees, and ice cream beans. Up there is a more ornamental area where it's got like beautiful flowering plants and ornamental gingers and stuff. We put in this whole line of pineapples along this retaining wall that was built. And so there's 200 pineapples in the system in certain areas. There's a couple more lines of pineapples down there. And then there's this long line. It goes around all the way around this whole wall. There's about 60 to 80 pineapples in this line alone. And then this area here, Matt has like put in some katuk and some other like hibiscus and different edibles, and now he's weeding all this, and we're going to mulch it so that the weeds don't encroach anymore. This is katuk, one of my favorite perennial greens. This is, you can just strip the leaves off like this. Really good. It tastes like, got like a peanutty flavor kind of. Here's turmeric and ginger that we planted. There's lemongrass, line of vetiver. Here's a rambutan. Got a little tequisque. Of course, Mexican sunflower. We planted some black peppers. I'm going to show you guys this. This is blowing up with peppercorns. Look at this. These plants had actually little baby peppercorns when we planted it, but now it's a really young plant, but it shows you how quick peppercorns will produce. There's literally hundreds of peppercorns on this one plant, and then there's another plant on this side. So there's 2 plants here with tons of peppercorns. Matt's never gonna have to buy pepper anymore. Make your own black pepper and crush it. You can use the peppercorns green as well. And so up here is our last main row on this side. There's a whole nother line of pineapples here. We're going to be working on weeding and mulching as well. And there's a whole line of pineapples here. So now this is what it looks like in a finished state. So this fruit tree row looks epic now. And there's a whole line of yucca behind it that we also mulched. There's a ditch for drainage that was put in. And then there's vetiver up here for stabilization of the hillside and soil, and to use as a chop and drop in the future. So we have pigeon pea. This one we've already pruned back. As an example, these have already been pruned, and all the clippings are hidden now by the wood mulch, but these pigeon peas and crotalaria have been cut back. Bananas, ice cream bean, pigeon pea. There's a couple of fruit trees, avocados that were looking really bad, so we're going to replace them. That's why there's missing holes in this system. Banana, pigeon pea, These are cosmos. We're going to collect these seeds now. They're ready to be collected to plant elsewhere. But these are cosmos, beautiful flowers. Mulberry, more cosmos. More ice cream bean, insulin plant. Banana, ice cream bean, lots of yucca. That's a small keppel tree, fruit tree. Ice cream bean, banana, and then that line of yucca there. So the system looks really amazing. Look at all these sweet potatoes. The sweet potatoes blowing up in here. It looks incredible. Really, really looks good. And gonna start harvesting some sweet potatoes soon. This is jack bean. Actually, this is amazing. Oh wow, it's already going to, look at this, bro. We got jack beans. Did you notice this, Matt? Look at this. We got jack beans here. This is Conavalia, a nitrogen fixing bean plant. I'm excited about that. Here's another one that's starting to go to flower, and it'll produce some seed pods like that soon. It's a really amazing support species. There's more pigeon peas that were all planted by seed, as was the jack bean. Here's the jack bean. Oh, sorry, that's a sweet potato. But yeah, the system looks amazing. Looking healthy. Everything's looking great. It's going to be a lot of food in the future here. You know, he's already harvesting some katuk and hibiscus and cranberry hibiscus. Won't be too long. Early next year, he'll start to get some, you know, be all harvesting all the sweet potatoes and yucca, and bananas will start coming in soon. System looking good. Pura Vida from Playa Hermosa, Costa Rica.